Remember, my excellent drivers, you are responsible for the safe use of your vehicle and abiding by the state or territory rules that you are driving in, and that, of course, includes mobile phone usage.
Welcome to the Learn to Drive podcast. I'm your host, Liz Lafferty, and I'm here to guide you through the twists and turns of learning to drive with a few laughs along the way. So whether you're a newbie trying to figure out why the car keeps beeping at you, or a seasoned road warrior who still can't parallel park without causing a minor traffic jam, I've got you covered. So buckle up, check those mirrors, and let's hit the road to becoming a more confident and happier driver. Welcome, my friends, to the Art of Confident Driving. Oh, what? Sorry, have I pressed the wrong button? I must have. My producer's sending me through a message. What? No way. Is it really? Is it? Oh my goodness, folks. He's just reminded me this is season 3. Wow. Holy moly. We're up to season 3. I honestly didn't think I'd be doing this for a third year, but look at us go. Well, I should have guessed because I still haven't finished the lessons, but I almost have. We've got the really exciting ones coming up this season. We've also got some very, very, very impressive guests, some lovely ladies who are going to give us so much more information and education about learning to drive and being a car owner. But wow, I've forgotten it was season 3. Thank you for being with me, guys. All right, let's rock on with season 3. All right, so first thing I want to do is say I'm so sorry you've missed me for, I think it's almost 2 months. I've had every bug and his cousin's friends come and visit my body for the last couple of months, and you haven't wanted to hear me, trust me. It's not been pleasant, but we're certainly on the mend now, and I look forward to giving you a whole lot more content for this season. So thank you for being with me for the first 2 seasons. We're just getting better and better. And just like my learners, my first year I was on my red P plates, last year was my green P plates, and now I'm finally on to my second year of green P plates, my official third year of provisional licensed driving, or provisional podcast driving, should I say. So just like my P platers, once they've passed the test, the first year you're a bit wobbly, the second year you're getting more confident, and by the third year, you're feeling pretty good, but you are still likely to make a few mistakes. And again, that's okay. Just like me, I'm likely to make mistakes doing this podcast, but as long as you have a good time and learn from it, that's half the problem solved. All right, my friends, let's have a chat. So today I want to have a really quick chat about ego. Now, I know I've spoken about it before on some very early episodes about how ego can really destroy really good driving, and it doesn't make for a pleasant drive, especially if you're the passenger and have to deal with somebody who's being a bit crazy. But I want to talk about ego when it comes to teaching to drive. And yes, that includes mine. So when it comes to teaching people to drive, I thought I had it all sorted about year 15. But then I realized that's a really silly mindset. I need to be prepared to learn at all times. And that's what I did from that year onwards. I started really focusing on, okay, well, if I think this works for this person, let's try it on the next person. And often it wouldn't work, and I would have to change things slightly. So that's why I'm really confident with my podcast lessons, because I have practiced a lot in how to convey a lesson to a student, whether they're a 17-year-old, whether they're a 25-year-old, whether they're a 55-year-old, or whether they're one of my lovely older students who are refreshing. I have practiced all of these years to try and find really good ways to communicate what I need them to understand. And that's why I've done this podcast, so that everybody can get an idea of what you need to do to be a safe and confident driver. But as I said, there were a couple of times my ego got in the way. I'll tell you my story in a moment. I just want to bring forth that even from the other side of the planet, you can get some people with an ego involved where it gets in the way of learning. So we've got a wonderful Facebook page here in Queensland, which is attached to the Department of Transport, and it's called Street Smarts. It gives us road rules and driving tips in a really fun way. It's not really boring and staid. It's really pretty cool. So I follow that regularly, and a lot of other people do, and I suggest you do as well. Even states which aren't Queensland, they've got some good tips. Now remember, and this is why I say almost every episode, you must obey the rules of the state or territory you're in. Right? So there was a post they put up about how to lane change. And they've said you need to check your shoulder and indicate. Now, you know me, I don't like the word shoulder because it makes you want to look at your shoulder. It should be a blind spot check, okay? But, they're getting the message across. Be aware of what's around you before you just lane change. So when I was looking at the comments, dear old Henzie School of Motoring, who I had to look them up, they're all the way over in Ireland. They've actually come on this Facebook page and had a comment, and they've said, question, why would you look over your shoulder when your car is moving forward? I say your because obviously they can't spell Y-O-U-R. They're spelling U-R. I mean, why go to the bother of doing proper sentences and not do proper spelling? Anyway, and then in big capital letters, they've written at the bottom of that comment, never take your eyes off the road. And I just went straight underneath and I said, Henzie School of Motoring, do you not have blind spots in Ireland? Apparently not, because he's come back and said, wing mirror only. Why would you look behind when your car is moving forward? Eyes off the road. So I've actually come back in a rather long comment, which I won't go into now, but just basically saying, look, you don't understand the rules in our country. You are giving very much wrong information to the people who are reading your comment. Please don't comment if you don't understand the rules. And of course, Street Smarts came underneath and said, yep, check your mirror, indicate, and shoulder check to make sure your lane change is safe. So again, people think they're right, don't they? Everybody wants to think they're right, but don't assume you are, and certainly don't assume you know the road rules of a different state. Hey, don't even assume you know the road rules of your state. They do change. So it's always a good idea to keep up with the latest road rules. And as I've said before, most Department of Transports do have their own website. And of course, they'll have a road rules refresher, which you can remind yourself about and check out on all of the new road rules that are applying to you. I hope he learnt his lesson and will refrain from commenting on Australian websites and Facebook posts. All right, so here we go. Let's talk about my embarrassing moment. So I'd moved here to Queensland after doing the driver training in Sydney for all those years. And I was, in Sydney, it's a lot harder. In New South Wales, the test is harder, or at least it certainly was back then. The road rules are tougher. And so when I moved up here, I did get the Keys to Drive in Queensland little book. So you can get those. I think you can. Actually, I did. I saw it the other day in a news agency. So yeah, you can still get that learner book from a news agency and pick it up and read it. I think you can get a copy online. Of course you can. Silly me. So I read that and I'm like, yeah, they're pretty similar. They're a bit more freeing when it comes to the many road rules. There are a couple in there I didn't quite understand. So I did actually seek out advice and get clarification on that. But then I'd had a few tests go through and they'd all passed. And then suddenly I had a test that failed. I'm like, oh, hello, what's going wrong? So the examiner had asked the student to turn right and then left. So being from Sydney, where, again, the road rules were tougher back then, I would always make my student turn from the right to the right. So in other words, from the right lane into the right lane, into the corresponding right lane, and then make their way across to the left lane. And that to me has always seemed to be the safest way of doing things because, well, just because I've been taught that way, hadn't it? So I asked the examiner what the problem was, and he said the applicant just couldn't get across and was going to make a very dangerous lane change. So that's why we had to stop that from happening. And he said, you should have trained the kid to go directly into the left lane. And I'm like, I looked at him in horror, I'm sure. And I said, but you don't do that. You go from the right to the right and then you lane change. He said, not here in Queensland. And that's my point, guys. Know your road rules, but more importantly, know what works in the state you're in. There's reasons they've got slightly different rules. Okay? I don't always understand them, but there are reasons, I'm sure. So now, of course, I do train my students. If the direction has been right then left or left then right, here in Queensland, and now would you believe many of the other states have come along with that, you can go directly into the wrong lane, as it were. You can go from the left directly into the right lane or from the right directly into the left lane, of course, providing other lanes aren't going with you. But that would make life easier as a driver, wouldn't it? People wouldn't be cutting you off and not allowing you to get into that other lane that you wanted to be in the first place. So that was his point. He was kind of like, if you want to be in that lane, go directly into that lane. So yeah, I was a little bit red-faced that day, and I took stock, and I'm like, yep, I thought I knew it. I didn't. So I won't say I went back to the drawing board, but I certainly took stock and went, okay, yep, let's drop that ego a little bit and learn a bit more. So that's what I'd recommend while you're out there, guys. Don't assume you're right. You may not be. Like, I get quite a few funny looks from people when I'm doing one of those Queensland U-turns. Yeah, it's one of the official lessons that I've done, one of the podcast subscriber lessons. We're required to do some very strange U-turns up here in Queensland for the test. And I know it's people from southern states who have moved up here or just holidaying up here. They look at myself and my student like we're absolutely crazy and are going to cause a crash when we're doing these rather unusual and, in my opinion, somewhat dangerous U-turns at intersections. But they're giving me a look as if to say, I don't know what I'm doing. I would say to them, how about you go read the common road rules for the area, and then you might be surprised. So guys, as always, know your road rules for the state or territory you're driving in. All right, my friends, like I said, I'm so looking forward to season 3. Thank you so much for being with me. I wouldn't be doing this without you guys. Okay, maybe I would, but I love the fact you're listening. No, I'm kidding. I couldn't do it without you guys. So thank you so much for listening with me for the last 2 seasons. I'm really looking forward to you joining me for season 3. Go ahead, leave a comment, give me some stars, give me a rating, whatever you want to do, and certainly share me to some of your friends if there's an episode you like, for example, the motorway merging. I think the more that people can listen to that episode and understand how it's very easy to do as long as we stay calm, I would love to get more and more people knowing how to merge on the motorway, knowing to do all the things I'm telling you guys about with confidence and safely. All right, my friends, go on out there, have a great time on the roads, and remember to relax and enjoy the drive. I'll see you next time. And my full driving lessons are available on Apple Podcasts and the artofconfidentdriving.com website, where you will get access to instructional videos. Remember to relax and enjoy the drive. See you next time.